Hey everyone, Lauren here, and I'm going with this Scraplift this week with Amy doing her version of Laura Albert's creation. She's called it, the title is, what is it? Shoes and bows and more. Clothes and shoes and, my goodness. You've seen the close-up before. Sorry Laura, I didn't mean to butcher that. So I'm just starting with I'm going to make three 3x4 photos using two together like this, and I'm just starting just like she is using the Distress Oxide. Sorry, the table's moving so much. And I'm just using the ink pad straight to the black paper and smushing it right down. So these Distress Oxides work so well on the black. It makes the colours pop very nicely. So just adding some of the different colour blue on with some water, and I'm just going to make some ink splatters over that little pattern and a bit off the edges as well, just for a bit of extra interest. Even though a lot of this is covered up, I like when you do mixed media to add it all to the background, and then whatever peeks out is what finishes off the layout and makes it look all put together. So you can see now I'm just splattering it. So what I did was I had two 4x6 photos that I added some collages to, just cut them down because the backing, like I needed a white mat behind it. So I cut them down and then matted it on some white cardstock. And that has equaled 6 photos, but in 3 separate 3x4 size, if that makes sense. If you can see what I mean by that on the screen right now. So you can see now it's a sort of like a montage of my son when he was sticking out his tongue. It's really cute, and I'm just going to layer it just like Laura does. I did stay pretty true to the original layout that she made and scrap lifted a fair bit of it just to make to see what it would look like. I really liked the design. When Amy and I decided, we both really liked it, and it was something that we haven't done before, and using multiple photos is not something I often do, so it was a nice little challenge for me to do as well. So I'm just going to add it in, and yes, I know they're not straight. I really wanted to have them a bit obscure and have that look. But then I'm just cutting down the paper, and I'm just going to add that other blue to for the other mat. So this is a new rock collection from Cocoa Vanilla. I got it in one of the Kitaholic kits 1 month, I think, maybe 2017. Ooh, yeah, maybe. A while ago, but I still have lots of it left because it's a boy collection. I used a fair bit, but then I also hoarded a lot. So I thought it'd be nice with these photos that are, he's sitting in his blue little rocking chair. So now I'm just going to add some of the paper layers like she has. She did use some gold washi tape that she ripped for the top and the bottom, but then I didn't want to use any washi tape. I just wanted to use some paper strips, 1 to use up the paper, and 2 because they went so well together because it is a collection. So you can see now I've got them in these 12x12 and 6x12 bags. I'm just pulling out the paper and the embellishments that I want and just having a play with the positioning and the color combination. So ripping down the top edge, because I really like how the edge was the top border was just ripped and just had one layer so that it wasn't too overwhelming. And it's funny how actually I had the similar idea with the borders, although this is not my idea, this is a Scraplift. But before I even realized remembered this is the layout we were doing, I did my first design team video using the January kits for Kitaholics and did a bordering kind of thing because of the design that I wanted. So that's pretty funny that they're very similar, but they work out so different. It just that is the only same element that I use paper to border the top and the bottom. So just going now to work on the bottom clusters. You can see I've pulled out a title using some pink, no, they're not pink, some black puffy stickers. So I've used actually the number 3 for letter E because I didn't have enough E's left in the kit in that packet of thickers, because obviously I'd written some other titles when I used the kit originally. But the number 3 works so well if you turn it around to be number No, to be letter E. Especially if you make all the letters of the title that are the letter E using the number 3. That way they don't look out of place. So sticking the photos straight down, and then I do work on the title and some of the clusters. So now Laura, when she did it, she had this cluster down the bottom with inside the paper edging, and then she had a cluster to the bottom right of the photo layers, and then where her title met, and then at the right top of the photos. And then she did also have some journaling to the top right above that cluster, but I decided I didn't want to really add much journaling or any journaling, so I just left it. And partly I'd forgotten by the time I'd finished the process, and because it wasn't screaming out to me that the layout needed it, I didn't go ahead and add it. So I'm just cutting down this sticker. It did have the original written at the top and then a spot to date stamp it, but I didn't want that bulkiness of it, but I also didn't really need the date on it. And then so I've just cut it down to make it work for what I want. So a really good tip is to make things work for you. If it's a circle, cut it to a square. If it's rounded edges, cut it straight. If it's, you need the letter E and you've got the number 3, then use that. Just work with what you've got, but also change its purpose if you feel you can, but also if it works. If it works, just do it. Like, don't hoard it or wait for the best thing to pop up and suddenly be the best thing to add to the layout. You'll never finish anything if it's that way. But instead, like this was the Project Life card, cut down from pattern paper. Instead, I cut out these stars and have added these as my embellishments. So just having to play with some extra embellishments to add up and bulk out those clusters. So we have that chipboard awesome ticket, and then I've got down the bottom going the tag sticker, the original sticker, and then I've got the rubber charm that says so much fun at the moment, but that doesn't stay there. So just trying to have a look through the embellishment packet, and the thing is, this is really not a good way to store them if you want to use them. But obviously you don't want to store them all in really useful boxes unless you have the space and the money, because it's going to I'd end up with 50 of those really useful boxes and I would barely use them, and it just would drive me crazy. Instead, if I'm like, okay, I'm going to do some photos in my son's album, I would pull out this collection and sort it out, just like you do when you're pulling out your Christmas stash and you set it up to work on Christmas goodness. So you can see now, just fussy cutting another star. It needed a star to the bottom cluster, and I've added that chipboard camera, and that pretty much rounds out that cluster down the bottom. So it's just doesn't need too much to make a cluster. You only need 4 things it needed, with some enamel dots I think I add, and then that cluster's done. Sometimes 2 things are enough. Just depends on what you're using and how it all looks together and how it looks in relation to the whole page, the whole layout. So just using these gold rhinestones that we got, amber coloured rhinestones that we got in the collection. The other good thing about storing collections or kits when you get them together, especially if you've got like a fair bit left like this, is to actually mean that everything coordinates together. You don't have to think too much. So you don't have to pull something from this 12 by 12 bag and then you have to get something from that part of your craft room and then grab another 12 by 12 bag to pull out something else. Like, they all go together so well because they are made together as a kit and they are stored together. But I also just recently have done a video for the Kitaholic Kit YouTube channel where I have used up leftover kits, and I've got 5 steps on how I did that, and then there's episode 2 is coming shortly, and then but I'll also upload those to my channel as well if you want to have a look. But definitely go over and check out the Kitaholic channel, because not only is my stuff that I make for the design team, but everyone who's on the design team have got all their awesome goodies over there, and we have a wide range of styles and designs, and it's just nice to be able to work together with an awesome kit each month, but also see the variety we get in what we make. So just working on this top cluster now. I've stuck down my title, I've stuck down the bottom cluster for what it is at the moment, And I do have that circle there that says number 1, but then I back out of that, take it off, and then I change up what's going on. So you can see now, scrap lifting is such a good thing for Mojo. For Mojo. It makes things come together so well. I watched Laura's video originally when it came out, but then when we found it again, Amy and I watched it, and then I drew a little sketch on a piece of paper, and then I just got to creating. Once you look at a scrap lift and then a process, then you can bring it down to its bare bones. So you can say, okay, it has border at the top and a border at the bottom. Some of them are ripped edges. Then it has a big photo mat in the middle with some distress oxide in behind it, or some colour behind it. And then we have a cluster to the bottom border, the title, and then 2 more clusters around the photos. Then you can pretty much interpret the rest by using its products, being led by your photos in your own style, and then go to town and make a layout. I really like when I'm feeling a bit low on mojo. I like to use a sketch or look at someone else's and scrap lift it in a way, because that way you get just creating. Once you start creating that first layout, I find if I start with an inspirational scrap lift or a sketch, then I get that layout churned out, and then I feel really creative and will do anything and everything after that, and it will set me up, especially if I have a big bulk chunk of time. It's good to get going on the first layout in that mode, and then get your own creativity going in its normal way. So this is the rest of the layout. I'm just adding some enamel dots to end it off, and then you'll see some close-ups. But I'll catch you next Sunday for the next scrap lift. Bye!